Hello there everyone. Today I'm going to show you how to make this easy beaded macrame bracelet. And this is what mine looks like here with the materials that I've used. So it's a really beautiful colour in the satin cord that I've used going along with the copper beads. Gives this nice impact. You have your beads running down the centre, different sizes, and then the smaller ones along the edges there. And it looks a little something like this on. You can see what it looks like there. So if you want to learn how to make this, then keep watching. And these are then the materials that we're going to need. First of all, we need our cord. In this case, I'm working with a 1mm satin cord, and this is really beautiful blue teal colour. It's a really nice colour, I think, and it goes really well with the beads. And for the beads, I'm using two different sizes of regular rounds. The large ones here are 8mm rounds, and they're going to be running down the centre of the bracelet. And then here we have the smaller ones. These are 4mm rounds, and they're going to kind of mainly be on the edges of the bracelet. So I'm just using these metal copper spacer beads. You can always use whatever you want to, as long as they're rounds in these sizes. And then to finish off the bracelet, I've got some ribbon ends here. So they look like that. So you just clamp them down on the end to give a nice professional finish. And then I have an extended chain jump rings and then a lobster claw clasp. So let's get it all together and let's get started. And we then need some lengths of our cord to work with, and we're going to use the same cord for the whole piece, but it's a few different lengths that we're going to be working with. So first of all, here I have 3 lengths of my cord of about 40 centimeters each. These are going to really mainly just be the holding cords, hence why they don't need to be that long. And then we need another 4 lengths of the same cord of about 1 meter each, and these are going to be the working cords, so they're going to get used up quite a bit more. So I've then taken all my lengths of cord here and attached them onto my macrame board that I'll be working on, because it makes it nice and easy because it has all these notches here to just be able to take the cords in and out of as we're working with it. Now what you just got to make sure of is that you just place the cords correctly however you're doing it and whatever materials that you're using. So that means in this case I've just used the slots. I've taken 3 slots next to each other, and then in the outer ones I've placed 2 cords into each, and in the middle one I've placed 3. And what you just got to make sure is that one of the holding cords, so with the shorter cords, you have to have 1 in each, and that is then also the one that on the bottom here I've put into the slot on the bottom. So these ones that are kind of taut on my board now, they're the short cords that are going to be the holding cords, and the loose ones here, so the 1 on each side again and the 2 in the middle, they are going to be the working cords. And then to start out with here, I just want to kind of get the bracelet going, so make a little section of some knots before I start adding in any beads. So to begin with, we're going to be using some square knots. So you have the cords in the middle here. I'm just going to start with the holding cord in the middle, and then also the working cords from the middle point there. Group in the middle, and then I'm just going to start making a square knot. So I'll take my left one over that, just ignore the others, we're just focusing on that middle one. And then the right one over that, underneath everything in the middle, and up through the loop on the other side. So you get this, just making the knot around that middle cord. And then start with the other side to complete this knot, make the other half of it. And then tighten that all the way up. So there we go, that's the first square knot. So now I need to alternate out to the sides as well and incorporate these cords. And the reason that we're doing this, I just want a little section with just the cord and the knot work here to be able to finish it off nicely at the end using the ribbon ends. So I'm just going to take one side first, so that means I have the holding cord on the side. I'm going to take the working cord from that side, bring that over. Then I'm going to take the working cord from the middle one that we just used for that knot, but the one that's going naturally towards this left side, and use that as the other working cord. And then do a square knot around that holding cord on the side here, and just tighten that all the way up. So we're now kind of alternating the square knots here, just building up a little knotted section. And like that. Tighten the first half again, and then tighten that, and then you have a full square knot there. And of course we then need to do the exact same thing on the other side. So I'll go around here to the cord on the right, take my working cord again, that's the one from the middle, and then the other one, and make your square knot around that outer holding cord. Like that. So we're just going to get it going, and also so everything's sitting right and ready to continue here. Just going to hold it in place while I tighten the other half. So there we go. I have my first 3 square knots, and now I want to make a bit more than this, but what I'm going to do is move back into the middle one to make my square knot, the very first one that I did, but below it. So that means I'm going to use these two working cords from the outside now, but that are naturally coming in towards the middle. And just make my square knot around that middle holding cord. And again, we're alternating the square knots here, from the middle to the sides, and the middle and to the sides. So, like that, and we're kind of building up a little section of knots. Just like that. So you just do this for a little bit until you really feel you have a long enough section. I'm going to make another knot on each side and then another one in the middle as well. So just make sure you end on the one in the middle. So now I have this little section ready. So I have 3 square knots around the middle cord, and then I have 2 on each side where they're alternating from the middle to the side and so on. So we're now in the position where I'm going to start adding in beads, because this is enough to be able to finish it off. So like I said, the final square knot that I made is around the middle cord there. So we're going to continue working with that for now. I'm going to add my first bead, and this is one of the large beads, and I've added that onto the middle one. I'm going to push it all the way up, because we're then going to cage this in first of all using the 2 same working cords as the very final square knot we did right above it. And all I'm going to do is make a square knot below the bead around that middle cord again, just the middle cord, to cage it in, and so it's not going to be moving around. It stays in place. So just make both halves of your square knot and then tighten that, just like that, and that's then where that large bead, the first one, is going to sit. And we then need to go from the middle here and go up to the sides and work with them, because obviously we need the smaller beads along the sides of that larger bead. So I'm just going to put these working cords that I was just using out of the way and just do one side at a time. I'm just going to start with the left one. So we have the holding cord on the left side and then the working cord all the way out to the side there. Those are the ones we're going to be using now. So I'm going to take that working cord, and then on the actual working cord I want to add on one of my smaller beads. So just take that, put it onto the working cord, and then I'm going to let it drop all the way down here, push it up till it won't go any further, and then again to cage this in we need to make a knot. And this is going to not be a square knot, it's going to be basically a vertical lark's head knot. So I'm going to take my cord and then go over the holding cord, so just the outside one here that we're focusing on now, and put it back underneath like that, and then up through the loop here on the side, and then pull it all the way through. So you get kind of like a 6, looks like that. And then I'm going to push that and tie that all the way up till it won't go any further. That cages that in, but it's just kind of half of the knot. So now I want to make the other half, which means we're going to go underneath the holding cord, up on the other side, and around the top and back through the loop, and that way, and then tighten that all the way up, just like that. And that's now caged that bead in, and we have our knot in place. So that is basically how I'm going to do the sides. So I'm just going to take another small bead, add that onto the working cord again, and then push this, let it drop all the way down, and then I'm just going to do the exact same knot to cage that in. So around your holding cord there, by going over first, and then I need to go under and around to get a nice and even look. And that's 2 beads. And then I'm going to add my final one, because we're going to have 3 smaller beads on each side of the large one. So add that and let it drop all the way down. And then now it's going to be a bit different, because we're not going to make the same knot that I just made between the beads here, because if you look at the top before the first one we actually had a square knot. So that means I want to end with a square knot down here to cage the last one in. So that means I'm going to bring in the working cord from the middle again, that's naturally going in that direction, and just finish that off with a square knot, and that then cages in that last small bead just around the outside holding cord. The other half here, tighten up nicely, just like that. And again you get that effect of the square knots, but alternating from the middle to the side. So that's the one side ready. So now I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side here. So you want to start out with your very first small bead, add that onto the working cord, so the outer one here, and let it drop all the way down, just like that. I'm just going to take this working cord from the middle out of the way, and then to cage that in, go over the holding cord, around back underneath, and then up through the loop again, out to the other side, tighten that, and then we need to go under, around and back through the loop. Just like that. So you can see that's the exact same beginning as the other side. We're just working on the opposite side, so it's just mirrored. So you want to add your other beads, add 3 beads on this side as well, just like I did on here. Remember to finish it off with the square knot there, using the working cord also from the middle. So now I have both sides done here. What we're going to do is move back to the middle one, so the middle holding cord. I'm going to push up my next bead, but this one is one of the small ones, so the same ones that I'm using on the side. Push that all the way up, so it sits right below that square knot in the middle. And then we need to make a square knot underneath this to cage that in, so basically just like we did above it, just below the big bead there. So just take the 2 working cords from the sides, naturally going in towards the middle, and make a square knot. And it fits just perfectly in that little gap there in the middle, that small bead. Finish up the square knot, tighten that, and then you have that placed right there in the middle. And we're now basically ready to start all over again. So that means we need to put the large bead in the middle up, right below the small one that we just caged in. So bring that up, and then we're just going to do the exact same thing now, just keep repeating everything. First of all, we want to cage the large one in. So take the 2 middle working cords that we just used as well, make a square knot to go below this bead, the other half of it, just like that. And then we're in the same position as we were up here before we added the sides. So this is what we have to do now. We've got to add the sides again, and you just keep repeating. I already showed you that up there. So you take one side at a time, take that working cord, and then you add one of your small beads to that working cord, and let it drop all the way down, just like that, and then cage that in with the vertical lark's head knot around the outer holding cord here. And then go over first and then go under to complete the knot. Just like that. So you can see that's the beginning of the next section. And you just do 3 of the beads again here. Remember to finish off with a square knot using the working cord from the middle as well after the 3rd bead. Do the other side, and then we reach the point where we have another bead underneath the big one. That's a smaller one we have to add. So this is basically going to be big ones spread out with the small ones in between, alternating throughout, and again just using a square knot. So that's just how you do this. You keep repeating this until you get the full length that you need. Obviously mine is your clasp. And what I just want to mention as well, to make it maybe a little bit easier and quicker once you get the hang of it, the side beads obviously you add as you go, but the middle ones, what you can do is load the cord, the holding cord there in the middle, before you make the full bracelet. So down here I have all my beads ready basically. They're already set on that cord and it's placed in the slot there. But you just got to make sure that you alternate. You start with a big one and then you alternate between big, small and big and small. And then obviously you can either add more if you need to add more for the length, or not use all of them when you find out how long you need the bracelet to be. So just remember to start with a big one, and that makes it a bit easier just having to push it up whenever you need one instead of having to add a new one every time. So just keep doing this, and then I'll show you how we finish it off. So I now kept going here until I reached the length that I want the bracelet to be, minus the clasp like I said, and I reached down to the bottom here. So obviously we've got to start thinking about finishing it off now. Where I've ended is I made my square knot in the middle after the large bead, and also ended on a large bead because we started out with that at the top. And then I've also got a square knot on each side to finish off the side sections there. So that's where I'm at now, and what we then want to do is basically make the same little section as we did when we started out. So, because the last square knots I have are one on each side, we want to do the little section of square knots alternating, just like we did at the beginning. So I'm going to take these two working cords that are going in towards the middle and then make a square knot around the middle holding cord to build up this little knotted section that then gives us a bit of space to finish it off. Just like that. And then again, go to the outside. I'm just going to do the exact same amount and kind of knots as I did on the other end. So now that I got both ends the same here, I've then also taken it off my board. You can do that nice and securely, nothing's going to come undone because we have all the knots on the end. Then what we have to do is basically get rid of the excess cord on both ends. So because I'm using a synthetic cord here, I'm going to be singeing the ends down. So I'm going to be using a lighter here. Obviously it's a naked flame and it does get hot, so be careful with it. You could also use glue and just put glue on there and cut off the excess, which you'll have to do if it's a natural cord you're using. But what I'm going to do then is I'm just going to show you how I'm doing it here, and obviously doing the same on both ends. I'm going to take a pair of scissors and then I want to cut where the cords are coming out from, but leaving about 1 or 2 millimeters after the knot. Something a bit like that. And then I'm going to take the lighter and singe down that little bit that I left. So just get the lighter close, singe it down, and that melts the cord, and then I press the rest in, the part that's melted. You could also use the lighter if you don't like touching it with your finger. And that's basically what I'm going to do to all of them. So just go through and do one at a time, get rid of the cords, because then you're going to have a nice and neat end we can then put inside of the ribbon ends here. So when I then have the ends ready here, I'm going to bring in my ribbon end as well, and then we need to attach this. And what I like to do as well is add a bit of glue, just for the extra security. So I'm just going to be using this hypo cement, and all I'm going to do is just add a little bit up and down the sides of the ribbon end here, inside of it obviously. And you don't necessarily have to do this, I just prefer to do it because it adds a bit extra security to it. So just add your glue inside of it. And then I also always like to put a little bit on the end of the actual bracelet. So just the very end here that's going to actually go inside the ribbon end. And just do that because then you have glue on both parts and they're going to adhere really nicely together. And also you get them kind of in between the knots here, so really into the little nooks and crannies. It's going to make it much more durable. So just a bit of glue like this, and then I'm going to grab the ribbon end and put it on the end of the bracelet, just like that, just where it's going to sit. And then I'm going to have to take some flat nose pliers here, and we need to squeeze this down because right now it's open, and just make sure that it's sitting kind of in the middle there and even. And then I gradually go in and squeeze just a little at a time, kind of one side to the other, because I prefer to do that because if you just go in and squeeze in one place all the way down, you have a higher risk of it kind of moving, and then you've already clamped it down and it's kind of too late. So I like to do it gradually, a bit at a time, so that when I feel like I'm getting close to the point where it's almost all the way down, I just look at it again, and if I need to readjust anything I can do that. And then when I'm completely happy with it, I go in and do my final squeeze all the way over from one side to the other. And I always just prefer to do the ends as well, kind of close them up a little bit so they're not too open, just like that. And then we have that attached, and obviously you want to do the exact same thing on the other end, and then we can use the loops there in the ribbon ends to attach whatever findings you want to use. So after then attaching the ribbon ends on both ends of the piece and attaching the clasp, then this is the finished bracelet. And then obviously just use the clasp here to then be able to wear it. And it looks a little something like that. So it gives a really nice impact here, where you have the kind of both beads running down the centre, and then you have the borders on the side with the smaller beads. You can also choose whatever combination of materials that you want to. So that's how you make this bracelet. A pretty simple macrame one to do with some beads in it. So I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and thank you very much for watching. Hello everyone. Today I want to show you how to make this edged beaded macrame bracelet. And this is the one that I've got here. So this is just the example that I'm going to show you today. I've used satin cord and then a combination of some larger and smaller beads there as well. It's going to look a little something like this. I just attached a clasp here using ribbon ends to finish it off nicely. So this is just the example that I've done, like I said, but you can really achieve so many different looks depending what materials that you use.